Hey everyone, it's Mikki here. You're listening to Wikipedia, and this week on the podcast, I speak to Simone Maier. So the 5-time coast-to-coast champion, winning in her fastest time ever this year, talks to me about what makes her tick, what helps her train, including her new surprise coach, her diet, the lessons she's learnt through the adversities she's overcome, and her plans for the future, including her own goals, her coaching, and a level up. The company she's set up with fellow multisport friend Emily Wilson to help support personal development for corporate and sports teams alike. Simone is amazing. She is totally humble and she is so resilient and strong, and you can absolutely hear it in the things that we talk about today. And I just feel so stoked that she made herself available to come on to the podcast. So Simone is one of the world's top adventure and multisport racers and our current adventure and multisport world champion. And she also has a GODZone Adventure Race win to her name in 2019 and many more. In fact, her list of achievements are endless, really. She's based in Wanaka, New Zealand, where she has over the years accumulated a vast skill set and condensed them down into outdoor courses and coaching. Simone offers coaching from any level up in all multisport disciplines and also caters for the elite performers. She's able to tailor a program or a course to your needs. And you can hear it in the interview when we talk. She's quirky, she's lighthearted, and she loves to keep the vibe high and keep people inspired to push on whilst imparting valuable knowledge, which is what Simone did today in our conversation. And I just love talking to high performers like her because you get a sense of how their brain works, and you just learn so much from listening to people who are just top of their game in so much. And that is definitely the case with Simone. So I have in the show notes Simone's website to her personal website and coaching email. So if you're interested in being coached by Simone, absolutely go there, but also to a level up as well. So her new company that she set up with Emily Wilson. Before we crack on into the interview, though, I would just like to remind you that the best way to support this podcast is to hit the subscribe button on your favourite podcast listening platform, because this increases the visibility of Wikipedia in amongst the literally thousands of other podcasts that are out there. So more people get to learn from the guests that I have on the show, such as Simone Maier. All right, team, please enjoy this conversation that I have with Simone. Simone, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm super pleased to have this opportunity to chat to you. You're such an inspirational person and phenomenal athlete, obviously. Firstly, how's your recovery going after the coast?
Hi, Mikki. Thanks for having me. Recovery, I think it's been going great till I went up Mount Roy 2 days ago and went back down or ran, and my legs are so sore. It's not even funny anymore. So the recovery has been amazing till 2 days ago, where I'm like, I should know better. Yeah. But I don't know. There's no easy way in, is there? Or that's not true. You could probably sort of start with a little hill rather than going up climbing 1,000 meters. Or it's probably not the climbing, it's the downhill that gets you. Yes.
Totally is. And to be fair, probably, Simone, it's probably not your way of doing things to take the easy hill, really, is it? It's probably more the hard yards, etc.
You're right there.
and Simone, I would love to chat around a range of things. Of course, I want to chat your training and your nutrition. Super keen to get the insights into sort of what helps you build into an event and helps make it successful for you on that front. But also, I've listened to a couple of podcasts and I've read such a great article that was in the New Zealand Herald a few weeks ago, just before Coast to Coast this time, and about just you and your life and what's made you so successful. And you're really you've really opened up in terms of some of the things you felt have helped you sort of build your mental tenacity towards adventure racing and multisport and things like that. Where I'd really love to start is with regards to sort of growing up and some of the challenges you faced. How do you feel that they have contributed to your mental toughness and your ability just to sort of get out and get amongst it?
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess some of what happened in the past, it definitely probably helped me to become a stronger, more resilient person. But I'm not saying that everyone needs to expose themselves, to do something crazy or but I had this discussion actually with my partner, with a few friends, sort of they asking me the same questions, like, imagine if you wouldn't have it would be funny if you could put a pause on it and have the same Simone, not with your past, and see what an athlete I would have been now without the background, without the challenges, I guess. Maybe I could be even a greater athlete. I don't think you need to have a horrible or traumatic experience to become a strong, resilience or tough or pain tolerant person. I mean, you look at all the Olympic athletes, or like in any sport at the best in the world, I don't know how many had a trauma, and and they are the best in the sport, like you look at Chrissy Wellington, for an example, or the great tennis player, not that I'm in tennis, but even the people playing golf, like it probably helps you in certain ways, or the way you, I don't know. I think even I've read many books about, I don't know, mental toughness or our well-being, or I've got a book actually from Richie McCaw, Perform Under Pressure, it's called. It's just in my bookshelf. But, and I don't think he had a traumatic childhood. But I think what a lot of these books have in common is the mindset, and how you can train your mindset regardless how good or bad you are to, I guess, to be, I don't know, not to become one of the greatest, but it helps you with achieving your goals, if that makes sense. And that could be in life, at work, or whatever your dream and, your passion flows into. And I guess I'm so passionate about the sport and moving and achieving and want to be the best at whatever, so therefore I guess I look at everything that might help me to get a little bit more out of it, or to think different. And it is amazing, I guess, what I learned even without my past, that the mental side is big in these events, or whatever if it's a competition or an exam, or I don't know, like climbing up Mount Everest, I think there's a lot of similarity. And if you can sort of figure out what makes you tick, what makes me tick, then it took a long time and a lot of trials and error, but I feel like I've got a good sort of recipe for myself now, where I know this is what it takes for me to be sharp and in the moment, and to kind of perform when it counts the most. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it totally does. And when I think about your background, I think some things which strike me is just your, like, you take risks, like like moving to New Zealand, for example. Like, you knew a person here, so you came out to New Zealand without a whole lot of money, without knowing very many people, without having great English, like that's a mindset of sort of not letting these things be a barrier to potentially what you want to achieve. And I think that's something which a lot of elite athletes have in common. Like, not necessarily, it's not about the trauma, actually, it's just that you're wired in a way, and I think lots of us are wired in a way, regardless of becoming, being in a world champion, or even just wanting to get up every day and go for a run. You almost have to be wired a bit differently from other people to do that.
Just for an example, I mean, the Wim Hof, like this guy that goes into the ice bath, and it's like, I have no desire, but to do that, I mean, man, you have to be mad, not mad, but you know what I mean. You kind of not attracted, but you kind of looking for to how to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that's a lot, I guess, what every athlete needs to, or not athlete, but even work life, normal life situations, just to push yourself through something that's not comfortable. It's not always pretty. It doesn't feel good at certain times. It's not all, and learning that it's okay. It's okay, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. And it's okay to be sore. It's okay to cry and feel like, oh, I don't want to do this again, and then you sign up for the next challenge. I think it's being human. I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But also, what do you reckon, Simone? Like, there are things which I love to challenge myself on, to put myself in an uncomfortable situation because I know that I'm going to get better. But there are other things which people sort of say to you, like, oh, go on, like, this would be such a good challenge, and you'd be able to build your tenacity and your mental toughness. And I look at what they're suggesting I do, like, for example, I don't know, an Ironman or a miler or something else, or like free diving or something. And I'm like, I don't want to challenge myself in that. Like, at what point in life are you like, you know what? I'm good. I don't feel like I don't have anything to prove more to myself that I need to become tougher and stronger. And I'm actually really happy with where I'm at. Like, do you ever have those sort of thoughts?
Yes.
Or is that just mediocre people like me? Okay.
No, that's with for example, the Wim Hof, which I kind of admire the people who can do it, but I hate the cold. I hate being cold. Yeah. I hate this feeling of sitting. Oh, I can do it, but it's just like, it doesn't excite me, And I love the snow. Don't get me wrong. I love being up in the mountains, and I love skating or skiing, and it's in the cold. And I mean, even I'm from Germany, and people gave me so much shit when I moved here, and they're like, you from Germany, and like you have cold winters. Like, I know, but I grew up with warm housing,
We didn't, by the way.
Yeah. And so I learned how to live in a down jacket for about 4 months of the year, 5, which I don't mind. But I came to terms that there are certain things, like even going up Everest, I just do not like the cold. I know I can prepare myself to be out there to handle the cold, that I'm not cold, so I'm warm and toasty, and I love exercising out there. But I guess that, there's a saying, there's no bad weather, it's the bad equipment. Yeah. But I don't want to shiver the whole time. And this, there's a creepy feeling I just can't handle. And I came in terms, I'm fine with that. It's okay and the same with, I don't know, falling off the sky in a parachute, or, there are certain things I realized I just don't have to prove. I think I proved a lot in my life that I can, if I have to, if it's a life-threatening situation and it's either fly, run or die, then I'm going to do and jump off the cliff and whatever, do free solo or swim in cold waters. But I don't know if that's a growing up thing that I learned. Oh, no, I don't have to like everything other people like, and I don't have to do certain things. And maybe it has something to do when you feel a bit insecure and you want to prove to the people or your friends, I can do it, or you want to become, I don't know, maybe it has a bit more to do with your psychology, psychology too. I don't know, but
yeah, no, I totally appreciate that. And like, I wonder, like, I was thinking about it as I was prepping for our interview, like, because I just wished you a happy birthday on Facebook. How old are you? Remind me. I didn't.
It's just a number, but it says 44.
44, that's right. You're just young. You're young. Could you have like, if you were thinking about yourself like 20 years ago, would you have expected to be where you are now in terms of, I guess, geographical location, maybe, but also what about in your sporting career and in your sort of professional career? Did you think you'd be where you're at now then?
Probably not sure, but what I remember from back in the days when I left school, and you finish, either you go back and you go carry on studying at university, or you you do an apprenticeship. And when people ask me, so what are you going to do? I always wanted to be an athlete or work as a school, PE teacher or associated with sport. And I just didn't have the best grades to go anywhere. So it was a bit of a horrible time at the time, because whatever I said, I want to be an athlete or, do something with sport, they're like, no, you can't. No, you're not good enough. No, it doesn't work. Or we haven't got the money to support, or it's just not possible. And that was hard. And it was like, but I just had this, I don't know, I just love it so much. But I guess you also need to be able to be teachable, or, to be able to study. And I just wasn't the smartest. I'm smart in different ways. I'm more the hands-on person, like I'm hands-on, touching stuff and feeling, and not good with reading, but that's probably because I had severe, or still have severe dyslexia, but that's okay. Back in the days, there was no such thing. So I always had this passion about doing something with this, being an athlete, but it just, there was no time and place, which then I did an apprenticeship in a bakery, and that kind of failed because then I got the eating disorder. And then after a long, I don't know, wirbel was like a hurricane, I started with life again. And then I started doing an apprenticeship in a sports shop. And that was sort of my not breakthrough, but I was like, oh my God, I'm finally doing what I was, what I wanted to do, be associated with sport or selling equipment or running shoes, like being right in what I was so passionate about. And that was kind of cool. And I finished my apprenticeship. And then I was like, that's sort of, I've done what I wanted in life, but I love to do more, when you feel like you've done something and you just want to grow and evolve and do other things. And I was always looking for the next challenge and something else, just to not be, not a bucket list, but I had a bit of a thing, not a list, but I was like, okay, I've done that. So what now? And then, I want to do an Ironman, because I had this childhood dream of watching Hawaii when I was little. I was like, let's do this. So how do I do this? Like, okay, I have to obviously start swimming, or it's called triathlon, like it kind of just had this sort of, not planned, it just kind of planned, but more in my, what is it, the subconscious, back in the folder. But always sport. What I remember just being super active and just playing everything you could imagine after school. And I just loved it. Yeah. I think it gave me a lot in sense of connection, contacts, sharing. You learn so much from playing team sports. You make friends, and then you got approval and a sort of belonging, and I don't know. I mean, I had a good upbringing, but there was something definitely missing with, I guess, the connection with the parents, which they've been good parents. They did what they could, but, there was something else missing, which then I think the sport just replaced it, or, I just got so much out of this environment to be in.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate that. And I was just thinking, as well, as you were talking about, like, having these sort of dreams and desires, but not that they weren't recognized, but you were told, that's not possible. Like, I do wonder how
that's probably a generation thing.
Yeah, I agree. And if you had stayed in Germany, like, I wonder whether you would have sort of not been put in a box, but like you just wouldn't have realized your goals to the same extent as what you have with all of the other life risks, like the travel and stuff that your sport has provided you, and that you just that you, of course, instigated first by moving to New Zealand. Like, I mean, what a huge move from Germany.
Yeah. Well, there was like jumping into the pond, like, in the ice cold water, I call it. There's a saying in Germany. You just jump into the deep end and like all in. And because my English wasn't that great, and I thought, when I went on trips with my mates, it was like they could communicate, and I was not the dumb one, but I was the one left out. Couldn't communicate because all I knew was German, and I was like, right, I need to go by myself. It's enough, and the only way is to go harder. But that's, I don't know, it's a bit my personality, which I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing. It's not bad, but sometimes it is, I guess, a bit extreme. Like, even with my sort of resting, I'm all in, or I'm not. Which then you get sore legs because I haven't used them much, and then I climb 1,000 meters and run down. Not very. I wouldn't highlight to do these things.
No, but true.
Not the smartest.
But the other thing is, but you know yourself as well, and I think that's something which, of course, we develop with age and stuff. Like because then if you know yourself, you can then make adjustments to, you know, the recovery time or what you do next. As a, you know, like yes. I can't imagine you're going to go and climb another 1,000 meters today if your legs feel this way. I mean, I might be wrong, but at least you're like, well, okay, I did that. That's fine, and you know, I know, you know, I'll just do some other things while they recover and then sort of move on.
It would be amazing having the knowledge I have now. If I had that 20 years ago,
I know.
I would probably minimized a lot of injuries and just saved myself a lot more.
Says every single athlete, right? I mean, don't we all say that? Like, oh, if only. Yeah. But you wouldn't be the person you are if you did as well, right?
Oh, and then there's still so much more to learn. Like, as a child, you always think, oh, the grown-ups or the parents, they know everything. And then you are that age and it's like, no, I still got this so much out there. It's like, I don't know everything. I know a lot more than I used to, but shit.
I often think that, like, I think about my parents at my age, and I not only, of course, did I think that they were old, but I'm like, whoa, my parents had like, I don't know, 20-year-old children at the age that I am now. And they seemed so adult to me, and they still seem like the adults, you know, when we're in the room, and we seem like the children. Like, I reckon that stuff just never changes, right?
Probably. I can't, but I see your perspective. Yes, exactly. I agree. I don't have any kids myself, so I still feel like sometimes the kid is like, no, can't have them. It's too early, which it's not too early, but it's like,
No, I totally appreciate. Hey, Simone, like, tell me, do you like to, like, with your mindset stuff, like, I don't know what you do, but do you like listen to podcasts? I mean, you mentioned Richie McCaw's book. Like, what other resources and stuff? If someone's going to ask you, Simone, how can I grow personally in terms of my mindset and how I approach things to be a bit more like you? Like, what kind of resources and stuff would you push them towards?
Oh, I love podcasts, and I listen to so many different ones.
Do you listen to mindset ones particularly, or do they just come up in conversations when we're like with the hosts and stuff like that?
It probably comes up in conversations. Like I used to do a lot of triathlon, and I still love the Fitter Radio, Bivens, and what is the other one? Jack, what's this guy? Jack, the how they train. You know, and then there's also some other, like, I've been listening to your podcast as well.
Oh, nice.
And you know, when you talk to all these intelligent people, like doctors or whatever, like there's so much, I feel like you just pick out little tiny pieces, and I feel like because there's more than ever, like there's so much more. Resources and everything on the net, you know, like we have access to anything these days. As I said before, I'm not the best reader, so I do have books, but I'm not the best reader, so for me it's much easier to listen even to audiobooks, so that's why I like podcasts. But so I feel like I always pick certain things out. They just resonate really well with me, or it feels like, aha moment, and I try certain things out. And So I couldn't pinpoint it to one specific, but I did for a while listen to a specific podcast, and she was from South Africa. It was fascinating because it's all about the brain, and that helped me, I think, personally a lot. Just listening. What is it called? Oh, it's on my tongue. I just can't.
Was it a mindset podcast?
Yeah. Is it Caroline Leaf?
Cleaning up your mental mess.
Yes. So, but
brilliant.
I don't know. It clicked with me, and I just especially with lockdown, like she had so many good points. And in lockdown, I was like, just even before, I was just like a sponge, just like when I find something, I'm just like, like
totally. Yeah.
I thought I loved it. And I thought, oh my God, if everyone listened to this, it's like the world would be a better place.
Yeah. Do you know, I know what you mean about just listening to just different podcasts, like with experts, and even like I'm like you, like they might be talking about a particular topic, but then there are things which are almost outside of the topic, like just in part of the conversation that they have, or they might be explaining something about their own life, and it's those little in-between bits. And I'm like, and it gives you insight into how they think.
Yes.
And these are like these super successful people in their field, and they're sort of sharing their knowledge, but the way that they say it or other elements of it sort of make me go, like that's a really good way to think about that. And then, so it's almost like learning how to think differently when you're listening to successful people.
Like before the coast, I was just listening to a book. What is it called? I think it was the Resilience Toolkit. And there's a lot of, I don't know, but it was a few key moments where just like, because we have all these thoughts. I mean, I don't know. I'm very busy up here. I don't know if others. And I think maybe it's a girl thing or woman thing that we are just sometimes just thinking too much and overthink too much. And she was like, I don't know, just breaking it down, like, is this thought helpful? I guess when I'm racing, and then, even in general life, like I was just so busy with getting ready for the coast, and I had all these, I guess when I get tired and I don't know, then I get more emotional, not enough sleep, like how when everything is overwhelming, but it's self-inflicted. Anyway, so the key moments I had with or what I got out of the book was like just breaking down, is this thought helpful? No. Is it relevant? No. Is it helpful? No. Kick it out. It's like a machine almost, like just block it out. And just kind of, it comes back to just being in the moment, and all that negative self-talk is not helpful, and it's not actually true. It's just what my thoughts telling me, like that I'm slow, and it's like, you come up with so much crap up here, which is like, how is this even possible?
I know. Do you know, I had this on my run this morning, Simone, like I was running, and it was supposed to be an interval session, and it was, but it was pretty rubbish, to be fair. But what I noticed was I just sort of had started my run, and then I just started thinking about stuff to do with my business, like, well, I've got this to do, and I've got to, want to start this athlete academy thing. I've got to get the ball rolling there. And then I've got to think about my next program for Monday's Matter. And then I'm like, I'm probably not going to like, and those thoughts were running through my head that, well, like I didn't feel, not that I wasn't good enough, but I just felt a block to my ability to achieve it, and I'm like, Mikki, you've got to get out of that, because that's just that mental mindset. So you've like, and so I just started thinking about, and I'm like, right, I'm going to think about my run. Then I started thinking about really fast people when I was doing my intervals, like how are they going to be running these intervals? Good. Clearly I'm going to be a lot slower than them, but I wanted to be in that mindset,
Oh, exactly. Like I would have thoughts like when I'm out running, it's like, oh, but these other people, they run so much faster. And it's like, well, that's not relevant right now, is it? And then instead of thinking, like there's so much going on, it's like, but why are we doing this to ourselves? I don't know, but it's not helpful. Boom, need to block it out. Like, and then how you feel, oh, well, that's on race day, that doesn't count because, oh God, you don't want to know how I feel. Not helpful. I needs to go. So, and I think, that was my whole point, that just these little things with, making a list and going through certain things, it did help me.
Yeah, which is awesome. Now, Simone, can we talk about your training? Like obviously you've just won your 5th coast to coast, and it was funny because I thought it was only 4, but I had obviously lost count, and you've won 5 already. But what is obviously your training will look quite different in the lead up to an event compared to maybe just when you're ticking over and you're just going out and smashing life, But what does a typical week look like for you when you are in that, when you are in a training mode? Like, do you plan it out with the help of a coach, or are you in the space where you have a lot more autonomy over what you do and you just sort of decide on the day? Like, how does it look for you?
Yeah, this year I had a coach, so it just helps me because I was a bit busy this year. I committed to a lot of different things like life and work, call it work. So therefore, I thought I cut out, because I have been self-coaching myself as well for 3 coast-to-coast wins, which
Yes.
I'm quite proud of. But anyway, what? It takes out the sort of the stress thinking kind of feeling, and there's, I guess, a lot of analyzing involved, whatever. So I thought I get a coach, and then all you do is you get up and it's a bit, I wouldn't say lazy, but it does help you with just doing what you're supposed to do. It just frees up more time so I can put it into my training and just work and coaching myself, other people. Yeah.
Well, do you know, because like it takes the doubt away. Like, sometimes if you're coaching yourself or doing anything for yourself, if you've got these little negative thoughts going, oh, should I be doing something? So, even though you're like, should I be doing something different? So it just takes away that little chatter.
And it gives me kind of bit of reassurance, like he obviously or she wants me to do well, so surely they will help me to get the best out of me. And then it takes also a bit of strain away on me and my partner, the relation, like, because I would usually ponder him and annoy him a bit, like, hey, what do you reckon? Which is hard, because then he feels like, damn, if I give her the wrong thing, the wrong answer, like. So I thought, but sorry, to come back to your question, a average sort of a week would look like, usually the weekends are quite big, so therefore on a Monday I would have sort of an easy day, so it's just an easy bike, pedal or run, just to accumulate sort of time and keep the body ticking over. And then on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
How long would that be on a Monday? What's your
probably
duration?
Probably from half an hour run to 45 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour, but just
nice
kind of sort of, and then probably a bike or pedal, and they could be an hour and a half usually, just but mainly just to keep ticking over. And then on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do intervals. And then usually it's like on a Tuesday I would do a running interval just along where I live, just out the door here, or I go on the track.
Nice.
And then usually a bike or another pedal, and that could be maybe on the usually a pedal and then some intervals as well. And then that's basically Tuesday. And then on a Wednesday, I either do an interval on the bike or a long bike, sort of a longish like endurance, But and then usually a run off the bike, and that's that's good training. And then a Thursday, depends what I did on Wednesday. It gets not compensated, but depends on the workout on Wednesday. I would either do a long bike and then again a run off the bike, or a pedal and then going onto the bike, but it will be a longer session. But usually we're talking longer. What is it, like 2 to 3 hours? And then Friday is sort of an easy day again, like just maybe they would call it a recovery day, where you just go out for a cruisy run, which could be mainly sometimes just half an hour, which back in the days I would never do that. Even if it's just 20 minutes, like
would it not be worth it? You'd be like, what's the point?
But I learned a lot growing up a bit more, or grown out. And I think it's very very, very beneficial, these short runs, and then Saturday, Sunday are usually long endurance, either long bike ride 4 hours, and then it's either a long bike ride on a Saturday and then followed by a long run on Sunday. and that's my week kind of. And then I would sometimes make it up if go for an easy pedal afterwards. Depends. Yeah.
And do you are you always training for something, Simone, or do you always have in your head the next event that you're doing, or do you only have a couple of events during the year and you have long periods of time where you're just ticking over and keeping fit?
Yeah, so since COVID, it seems a bit like that, where I have long periods of times where I call it I'm training for life, just to be fit and out and about. And well, it's a bit unfortunate with COVID that a lot of multisport events kind of have disappeared. And even I used to go quite a bit overseas. And last year was the first time where we had an event. 2 years ago, actually, where we had an event in Australia. And then I went and did another event in Paraguay. And then last year I went back to China. I used to race a lot in China with those multisport stage races. So that was great back before COVID. We used to do this a lot, and I would have a schedule almost like a triathlete, where you have kind of not really an off season, because our summer is their winter. So we have our summer, we train and race, and then our winter is their summer. So then we go overseas and race. So it was like bang, bang, bang. But it was good fun. It was really good fun. I really enjoyed that. And then, now since COVID, things have changed a bit. So I have a longer off season, or more, long periods where I don't really have anything. Or I guess you can do lots of local events, like running events. There's always something you can do if you want to. So I might do a few more of that. Yeah. But potentially maybe go back to China our winter, so their summer in September. But even it's we're talking about that's 5-6 months away. So
yeah, that's true. How do you cope in Wanaka in the wintertime?
Oh, it's great because we go up the hills. So hopefully we got some snow up there.
Oh, amazing.
So
yes, of course, because you're okay, great. Yeah.
So this is a place, God, it doesn't matter what season we've got. There's so much to offer. Not that I want to sell Wanaka to more people. No, not at all. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's pretty good. It's definitely, it's cold. It's, as I said, I shouldn't complain about the cold because you need the cold in order to get snow, and and then it's actually awesome when you can, and it's awesome for me because it's awesome that I do other things than just kayak and bike and run. I love skating, so it's good for my overall fitness balance, even to do different things than rather doing the same thing all over. Like even now, the last 3 weeks I kind of refuse to do the same thing what I train for. It's like, no, I don't want to go on my bike, and I don't want to run, and I don't want to kayak. It's like I want to go climbing and hang out with friends and do the things I usually don't do and have time because I'm so
Yeah. Do you have a good network of people around you in Wanaka? Wanaka, I know I've got other friends and stuff in Wanaka, and they just say that, it really attracts really like-minded, outdoorsy type people.
Yeah. Yes, I think, it's changing. It's definitely changing. We have a bigger, how do you say, diversity. It's more on a spectrum, which is great.
Yes.
I guess I surround myself with like-minded people. It's definitely sort of a mecca for the outdoors, because I guess what's so convenient, especially for me, I guess if you like the outdoors, everything is just so close. It's right on your doorstep, so we don't have to drive for hours to get into the mountains. You just, like Mount Roy is 20 minutes in front of my doorstep basically. So the lake is,
it's crazy.
I walk down to the lake. I've got a pretty nice spot here. I'm right at the lake, which is
Do you still swim, Simone?
Only if I fall out of my boat. No.
I wondered, I didn't hear it as part of your clearly you don't need to swim for a lot of the multisport stuff, but I wondered whether it was just something you like to do.
I deep down, I love it, and I love, because I used to work as a lifeguard for such a long time, I love watching people swimming, and I see Tim, I guess, with his squad there, or Tony Dodds, or the swim club, and it's really inspiring. And I still sometimes think, oh, maybe I could have a comeback as a triathlete, if I put my mind and effort into the swimming again. But it's like, I just did that for so long, and I really tried hard, and I thought I just hit the point where I'm like, I think it's okay to not be a great swimmer. We talked before that when you realize it's okay to not be good at everything.
Yes.
I still enjoy swimming, but oh man, it's funny because I just haven't had the desire to do it. But even though, I did float down the river a few days ago with my partner in a dry suit, and it was a hell of a fun. It was really good fun. It was like,
that would
be maybe. And what I also noticed when I did swim, and I had a period where I did swim and I paddled, and I felt like the swimming definitely helped me with my anaerobic capacity, with just even with running and stuff. Like I felt like I was a lot fitter in this whole chest area than without the swimming, which was an interesting observation. But then I was like, I can't do both. And I don't know. I feel like I have an allergic reaction with the chlorine. Every time I would swim, I would have a really blocked, gonged up nose, and I lose the sort of the smell and the taste buds while I was swimming. And I was like, it's just not good, is it? I know, but
do you know, Simone, I swim so slowly that I never get, there's almost no aerobic. There's no way I could get anaerobic in a pool. I wouldn't even know what like you say that and I'm like, God, imagine how like my running could really have improved if I knew how to get anaerobic in a pool. But I literally cannot. Like there's no, like I go in and I swim a kilometer and it takes me about 26 minutes and I've never improved. But also I don't even care. Like I'm like, I just love being in the pool. I love the feel of the water. It's like when you have your body in a different environment, be it on a trail or even on a road. And I don't know how you feel about road running, but I love the flow that you get when you don't have to worry about the terrain and it's literally just one foot in front of the other and you're really in control. Like I really like that. And I love the feel of being in the water and swimming and just feeling like I'm really stretching out.
That's actually a good point you just had there with your example you made with road running and the flow. That's something I, for an example, worked on for this year's coast or with my coach. We hardly did any hills. We did no off-road running. Or, off-road running as such. Of course, I was running here on the trails, but just because I don't like the pavement and I don't think it's that healthy for me. But it was to get back into this flow stage. And I believe he was actually right. Like you can't do that when you keep focusing all the time, on routes and, how people, you either have it or you have experience with running off-road. And so you don't think too much, but just to learn that flow and what it's like to run properly, you can only do this on the normal road or on a normal track where you don't have to think and you can literally just focus on the doing. You know what I mean? Like the flow as well to feel it because it takes that much. It takes that many repetitions, but it also takes just the doing, like the consistency over and over. And there will be a point where you feel like, oh my God, I'm back in the flow how I used to be. And it's like, it was such a good learning again. It's like, it's not rocket science, isn't it? You read that, you hear this in the podcasts, and the same, I guess, with the feel for the water.
Yeah, but it's not until you do it that it's that experience. Sort of, you need the experience to prove it to yourself.
Yeah, and that's the commitment and trusting. I guess I had to trust the coach. Like, it's going to be all right. Even I cursed him. Was like, do you know the coast to coast is on a riverbed? Do you know I need to do some hills? Like, do you not? Maybe you should Google coast to coast. This poor guy. No, he was amazing. But it's like, I just keep questioning, like, what's the theory about this? It's like,
So that is one difference between having a coach and you doing it yourself. Like, what were the other main differences, Simone? Like, did did you do more or less volume under your coach, or did you? And who is your coach? Sorry, I'm so ignorant. I should know this. Like I didn't. And I think I've seen his name, but I can't even recall who it is.
I probably say his name right, Craig Kirkwood.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sir CK. There you
Sir
go.
CK.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I didn't. Okay, no. Do you know what? I didn't know that it was CK. Or else
CK.
that would have stuck in my brain. Yeah. So this is super interesting. So he was your multisport coach. Yet, of course, he is like, you know, he was in his day, a professional runner, and he's a run coach. Yeah. What made you choose him?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. It was like, do you know he's just a runner? I was like, well, I think you need to be careful saying he's was just a
Yes, I agree.
And has he ever done the coast? You know, like there's people questioning all these, and it's like, I think I've done my research and I had this gut feeling he will be right for me. You know, like it was probably the running, because I used to be I would say a good runner, not a fast runner, but, you know, especially in terms of off-road running, I probably accelerate more in the off-road or when it's challenging than on a road run, on a flat piece, you know. Maybe there's a bit of skill involved, but again, I guess it's just what you're passionate about and you just go out and do it. So my running has decreased in the last 3-4 years, and it really annoyed me. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe because I haven't focused so much on it. And, well, that's not true. But, you know, like you come up with all the cons and pros and cons.
You rationalize, don't you?
And then the only thing, what has happened, yes, with COVID, I haven't spent that much time racing in a team or overseas. And obviously, I haven't had the stimulus on fast running, you know, over, you know, almost every month you go and race full blast, especially in a team. And it's all like, not at max speed, but you try and keep up with the guys. So you're going to get faster because just of the speed you travel with. And even if you get towed around, but, you know, I think it has such a massive input on, again, you grow and the effect it has on your body and just the training. Like when you go out racing, you come back from China and you instantly in you sort of you have a higher turnover, if that makes sense. Like, and that's what the body
totally makes sense. Like
remembers from what you just done a few weeks ago. So therefore you had an amazing training block, you know. It's also the resilience and the strain on your body. You can cope with it. But we haven't had that for 3 years almost, or 2 years at least, you know. So maybe that had an impact, that just be getting slow at the coast, you know, which did annoy me. And people like, oh, maybe you sometimes you have to let go of something to become better at the other, which my weakness was the pedaling. So therefore I focused more on the pedaling. And then, you know, like time wise, but I was like, oh, I feel like I put in still the same time, but it just decreased. But my pedaling did become better. So I was like, oh, that's okay then. But then this year I thought, man, I'm finally good at all three things. And I'd like to just become, you know, like get back into that feeling of the flow, or that I feels nice and it feels like I can run again. You know, when you talk about the feeling and just feeling happy and content and just this good feeling of the flow, which I haven't had for such a long time. And I thought, well, I probably have to get a running coach, and I'm sure we can work it out. If I see I'm lacking on things, I would have the bravery now to tell them, hey, what do you reckon? Or, you know, I think I'm how do you say, I have enough self-esteem now to tell him, or, you know, even not challenge him, but ask him questions. Like, and I did, you know, like, but back in the days, I would probably just done the training and not question anything. And that's
but in your mind, I reckon that there would have been the questions.
And I think it's a healthy thing to not just do what the coach says, because we're also different, and he doesn't see me on a daily basis. We do this all online, and obviously we talk to each other, but there's so much more. And I thought, with my experience I have and can bring to the table, and his expertise with running, he coached Sam Clark, for an example, a few years ago when he won the coast. You know, I knew he's got some, you know, and then again, he's a coach and he wants to evolve. And, you know, like, I'm sure he does his research, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But obviously, he also has some amazing athletes he coached himself, like Hayden Wild and Sam Tanner and Mel, is it Aiken, the runner?
It is Mel Aiken. She's amazing.
Yeah, and then especially, just looking at his profile and how he's committed, and he treats everybody the same, recording to his website. I thought, oh, that sounds nice. If I get a treatment like Hayden Wild or Sam Tanner, and then I thought, look, I've got nothing to lose. He's probably so busy anyway, and he probably might not even say yes or whatever. So I thought, oh, I'm just going to flick him a message and see what he thinks. And then I did have to ask Aidan to poke him though, if he got my message. But no, we did have a chat, and somehow I guess he thought maybe it's a great idea to help me. And I did tell him.
Clearly, I mean, hello.
Yeah, and I did tell him too, maybe there was the bait. I was like, this is going to be my last coast. Can you help me too? Send it off. And oh God, here I am. I don't know. Anyway, maybe it was my last. I don't know yet. I'll leave that out there.
There's actually, because that was going to be a quick. So is that your last coast? Was that your last coast though?
Let's say it that way. It looks pretty good on my CV, and just to finish it off like this, it looks, even for me, I think I would be very happy and satisfied to leave it that way and say that's it. And now the rest can sort it out for next year and have a good rumbly tumble. However, it is very appealing for me, which I thought would never happen, to come back and do something not a woman has done before, to try and win it 6 times. So that's very, how do you say, it's a new challenge. You know how I said before, I always look for a new, not just a new challenge, but something that's just out the box, or, like something meaningful. And you can do so many Ironmans, like how people come up with, but it's like, oh, this is
same thing.
Yeah, this is kind of same thing, but different because no one has done it.
So Simone, reflecting on your win, were there elements that you felt could be improved?
Oh my God.
From your,
yes.
I mean, I guess to be fair, I mean, every athlete's always going to say yes to that, but but definitely,
and lots of, usually in the past, it was always little minor things. You can always work on your nutrition. Yeah. And yes, I can work on my nutrition. But for me, a big thing is like, I had a few injuries or niggles leading into the race, which we all have. But I always think, oh my God, imagine you don't have to think about the pain and just to block it out, and your sore feet and your sore bum, or, like hip. Like, imagine you could have a race where you just give it all, like the performance, and you've got your nutrition dialed. And even if that's not dialed, like you've done the work, but just not having that pain, already leading into the race, this is what's going to be like. There's no way around it, because that's just how it has been over so many months. And it's not going to go away. So, like that. Yeah. That's something I'm like, oh, imagine. That's what I'm working on now with the time off for the last 3 weeks. Or that was purely recovering for not just the body, also the mind. But what I really want to work on in the next few months is sort out these niggles, because they need a lot of attention, and it will be time. Time. Yeah. And just not just time to do nothing, but time to reset whatever is wrong here, whatever needs to be figured out. And then that's probably the main thing. And if the other thing is, I feel like I don't want to keep doing things if I'm just in pain. I don't want to make it worse. I don't know if it's arthritis. I don't know what it is exactly, but obviously maybe there's something in the hip that's, I don't know, that maybe then I shouldn't keep doing what I do, and maybe need to say, oh, okay, I had a good time. I had my career, and not hang up my shoes. I will always be fit and active in it, because I love to just be fit and active, to be roaming around and move. Yeah. And I think it's healthy, maybe to a different extent, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great. It's great to be in that position, right? Simone, you mentioned your nutrition. And I know that, so a friend of mine, and you know him, Marty Kendall, did a super deep dive into your nutrition for Radix, actually, as to what you did on the day and your continuous glucose monitor, which was bloody amazing, actually. Like, it was super awesome to read his report. He sent it through and he's like, what's this like? What do you reckon? And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, look at all this data and look at all this information.
Or maybe you can analyze it in a English for dummies that I understand.
Maybe
a lot of things they're just like, huh? What is that? What does it mean?
I know. Which, isn't it interesting? Like, so you've got all of this scientific sort of like analysis of your nutrition, which may or may not really be important for you as the athlete, sort of being on the day, right? But I wanted to sort of mention that. So, and I'll put a link. I'm pretty sure I've seen the article published as well, because I've seen it pre-publishing. I'll put a link in it to the show notes. Simone, what I'm super keen to talk to you about is your day-to-day nutrition. Like, what does that look like for you? Because, you mentioned, do you know what I find interesting is, you mentioned your eating disorder. And I've seen that written down, in articles and stuff about you. And I do wonder how much of, when we go through things like that, how much people pigeonhole people because of that. Do you know?
What do you mean with
I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but
pigeonhole?
Define. Oh. So it's like, you've had an eating disorder in the past. So obviously that's going to sort of impact on what, your everyday life now and what you do, which is not what I think. Actually, what I think happens is that people observing outside looking in might have in their head, this sort of defines, some of the eating habits or behaviors that someone has. And I don't think that's correct. And then, I'd be interested to hear your perspective as to whether or not you feel that impacts you now, or it doesn't even feature into anything that you do.
That's a interesting, how do you say, message I just heard, and I would have never thought about it that way. I certainly don't think at all that way. Even
cool.
Yeah, that's not sad, but I feel sad that people from the outside think about us or me, someone who had an eating disorder that way, because, oh gosh, if you haven't had one or any disorder or addiction, then it's hard to say something about it, because all they know is what they read and see. But I used to,
totally. I agree.
Like, I feel like,
because I chat to,
you chat to a lot of people.
I chat to clients. Yeah. And some of the struggles they have isn't necessarily in what they're doing, but it's how people perceive what they do. It was just insight.
Yeah. And then what I feel, especially with an eating disorder, it's probably one of the worst disorders you can have, because we don't need drugs, we don't need alcohol, we don't need all the other disorders. Well, you can live with all the other disorders, but you can't live without food.
Yeah.
So to build a healthy relationship with food again, that's a massive accomplishment for everybody that had a little disorder or been full on or had even been hospitalized, or, they should get a massive clap on their shoulder. They should be really proud of themselves, like what they have accomplished. That is huge, because you not just weekly confronted with it, you daily, every minute you confronted with this stuff. You go to the supermarket, because you just can't have it. You can't be without, That's what I learned, and took me a very long time to build up this healthy relationship. But I guess then by relearning to have this healthy relationship with food, I basically unlocked the power for myself, where I'm like, if I don't eat, I do not perform. If I don't eat, I don't recover. If I don't feed, I'm not fueled to do this session. Like, it took me a long time, and some people are faster learners or slow. I always keep saying good things take time, so I took the time, and I feel like I've proven it to myself and to others that I'm a well-rounded person now, and I don't think I've got any issues with the food anymore. I wouldn't say, I don't know, there's a saying in German, like that's what the Germans probably a bit, I don't know if it's a good thing, but when that's what they tell you in an institution, that you've got, if if you had a disorder, you will always have a disorder. Like you will have it for life. And I guess it's the thinking in our heads that will be still there, but it's the same probably like with my abuse. It's always going to be there, but you learn to live with it and cope with it in a different way than what I've done in the past. Instead of abusing it, I'm using it now. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
For my, not advantage, but I guess, I learned to cope within a different way than abusing it. So I learned it too. That it's helping me, it's fueling me, it's good for me. So
yeah. Well, I guess I think what you just said really shows, sort of illustrates what you've just illustrates that point, right? You're like, food is fuel. Like if I don't eat, then I know that I'm not able to recover. I'm not able to do my sport. I'm not able to perform to the best. Whereas because you've had that experience of not being in that position. And I think that's where the real value of it must come. And I wonder if that's what you're meaning. Yeah.
Also, I guess even if I don't train or not, it's not about just being an athlete. That's just my daily life. If I don't eat, man, I'm gonna get at some point brain fog. You feel a bit weird. You get tired. So I definitely need something. I probably learned that my body adapts. I guess I had to relearn so many things. I'm a lot more in tune what I need, and I'm a lot more in tune also with my feelings and sensation, that I don't mix it all up. And that's another thing, I guess.
Yeah.
People who had an issue, there's so much more than, when people say, why don't you just eat to someone that's anorexic or, or someone that's overweight, like, why don't you just eat less, than you need? Like, but that's not the point. There's an underlying issue that causes, that's the trigger, I guess. And you need to figure out what's triggering you, or what you combined with your feeling right now. It's such a wibble, such a big complex. But I think I have a pretty good understanding and even separating now, that I don't use my food to numb down the emotions, or that I'm not drinking now excessive amount of alcohol to numb down my feelings because I don't want to feel them, or something is overwhelming. And that, I guess, comes with thing is, I guess, like with everything in life, the only person that can do it is me. So I have to do these things, and no one can do it for me. I guess that's a sad realization for whatever it is we do these days, if it's my goal or if it's my addiction or if it's my work or whatever I want to achieve. I have to put in the work in order to become better or fix things or learn things. It's not always easy and pretty, but I think if you want to get better at it doesn't matter what it is, you can, if you if you got the will,
put the working
and the willpower. And it's not always, gosh, I did 10 steps forwards and I did 100 back. But it's the keep on going. I guess the same with training, like the consistency.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have now a day off or 2 days off, as long as you just don't sit on the couch for weeks and weeks again, Or the same if you have a fallback with, I don't know, if you need to lose weight, or, you had a good strike on, listening to your, doing your diet, or, and then you had a whole weekend where you just went wild. Oh, well, that's okay. As long as you just go back on the track and keep going the track you wanted to go.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's regardless of the hiccups and the things that happen along the way, you can only move forward. Like you can't change what's happened in the past, but you can only sort of change what you do in the future. So focusing on that, I think, is an opportunity to continue to, be consistent and do the things which make you feel good, I reckon.
Yeah. And just keep at it. And if you have a bit of relapse or whatever, just, oh, well, we all have relapse. And yeah, I mean, the other thing is that when people have had an eating disorder, I mean, I did the same thing. I tried to, I don't know if that was a, how do you say, when you go from one eating disorder in, not another disorder, but you try all sorts of different diets to, I don't know, make life more complicated. I don't know why we do that. I did that. But I also then realized that if I'm not sick, if I don't have celiac, or if I'm not, gluten or dairy free, like, it's actually nice that I have a healthy body that can absorb everything now. There are obviously certain things that make me feel better than others, and then I try and take notes of what makes me feel better than other things, and try and have more a holistic approach. That's sort of my, oh God. So you to answer your question, which I don't even know, but something about food. I'm trying just to eat a bit of everything, not be extreme in one thing. Like I think I have a well-balanced, holistic approach to food now in general. Like and obviously my food I use while I'm training is very different to what I have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if that makes sense. Because when I'm out training and racing, I need the quick carbs. And if people look at that, they're like, oh my God, all you eat is sugar. Yeah, but at that time, in that moment, to do this is what I need to eat. I need this quick release. I can't have a sandwich or eggs while I'm going full blast, But before and after, in between, I try and eat really sort of a well-balanced, a holistic meal. Yeah, I wouldn't say diet.
Yeah.
But,
so talk me through then, Simone, like what are your favorite, if I'm going to ask you about your favorite breakfast, lunch and dinner, what's your sort of typical diet look like? Because people are always fascinated by what sort of fuels the engine on our elite athletes. And so I have the opportunity to ask one of them.
So my go-to is usually, not at the moment, I don't know why, maybe because I'm not training as much, but usually when I'm training like the coast to coast or even with China or anything, and that's I had for over many years now, probably the last 6 years, we make our own porridge, and I love our porridge because it's not your normal Kiwi porridge, I guess. We make it.
Oh, all right. Talk to me. What is this?
Oh, you will like that, actually. We make a big pot. That's the other thing. Me and my partner, we love making quality and quantity. We go good and big.
Nice,
so we make
a
big pot of porridge, which also saves you time. So it lasts usually for 2 weeks. So we make a big pot of. We use big rolled oats. That's sort of the base, and then we add chia seeds, raisins or cranberries or dates, whatever, to sweeten it a bit, and then could be coconut flakes or all sorts of nuts or seeds, whatever you like, really. You can go wild, but usually we use a bit of either walnuts or cashew nuts, sometimes almonds. And then we use some spices. So we use cinnamon, turmeric, and ginger. And that could be even the powder. And if you don't have the powder, sometimes, or either or, we change it up. We cut in fresh turmeric or fresh ginger, or we use the powders. If the turmeric, you just have to be careful, like not to go too wild on it.
Yes, it's very yellow, but
and kind of it has this kind of not potent, but this taste, obviously. So but it gives it a nice color.
I understand.
And
actually, so once upon a time, I made a porridge that was a turmeric porridge, and I gave it to Baz to try it, and he's like, curry flavored porridge. And I'm like, well, I guess, but yours sounds much more like porridge.
And then the other, I think it's probably one of the key ingredients. We cut raw lemons and like organic lemons. So we cut the whole lemon nicely chopped, big chunks. I like the big chunks, and we cut quite a lot in there. So you put it all in a pot, you mix it all up, and then we add about 2 liters of hot water. Like, it's a big pot. Hot water.
Wow, that is amazing.
So it's completely soaked. And then overnight, we let it just sit overnight, and it absorbs everything. So in the morning, you've got this amazing porridge. And what I do, I top it up with I'm on a roll with, I add cacao powder with maple syrup and a ton of peanut butter to mine.
Yeah. Oh, delicious.
And my partner,
Yeah.
he adds his yogurt. You can do whatever you want, but it's just such a nice go-to. And it gives me, I think, a lot of fats and protein and carbs. I've got the whole shebang with oils and fats.
Amazing.
In there. And then, of course, I probably then kill it with a long black.
No, you enhance it with a long black. You enhance it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is awesome. But before that, actually, I'm a bit, not old school, but I read ages ago, and maybe you have told me that, when I seeked out for some advice a long time ago, I have a glass of apple cider vinegar, not a whole glass, but I dilute it with water. So I have a glass of that with a glass of normal water. That's sort of my start. That's how I start actually every day.
Oh, I love it. That's good. It's so good for your digestion. Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I do basically. As soon as I get up, that's my go-to. And then I have my food. Absolutely coffee. I'm a coffee snob. And that's one thing I realized. I'm happy to have one addiction, and I am probably addicted to coffee. Yeah. Caffeine.
Yeah. And that is a healthy addiction, actually, Simone. It's a nice one.
Yeah, I hardly drink. Yeah, I would say, I could probably say, like, no, I can't remember when I had a sip of the champagne bottle at the finish line. That was about it. But
good.
Yeah. And then I guess I do a training session. Depends what my work schedule looks like. Usually with the coast, I did everything before work because we do long hours. It's from 1 till 8. So I try to jam everything in before work. So I would do 2 or 3 sessions in the morning. And that's something where, you have to be, the key, nutrition is key there because I need to fuel during and basically straight after, just to be ready for whatever is happening. Like if it's not training, then it's work, and to be just there at the office and be ready for hundreds of customers.
Yeah.
And then
so what's for lunch?
Lunch, it would depend what I do. I would always have lunch, but it's usually just some leftovers you had from the day before, or just quick few sandwiches, or I had a lot of scrambled eggs. I tell you that. We should actually get some chickens. Yeah. Usually something with protein mixed with carbs. Like we would always have some, oh God, I'm quite boring. I would just have the same for lunch and for dinner. But it's usually just a small portion. And in the evening for dinner, I go big. We go like a big, good, like grains and vegetables and beans and lentils. I'm not 100% vegetarian, but mainly vegetarian. My partner's vegetarian, so we don't cook any meat here. That's just easier for both of us. But I do say it's not easy because I do struggle with always being on low, being iron deficient. So something I've been, Yeah,
it can be a balance, eh?
Yeah. And so occasionally I do actually eat meat. I've got friends, they big into their hunting, and so I eat their delicious venison.
Nice one.
And I usually make it when Marcel is not at home. When I cook up a storm of animals. Or have fish.
So Simone, do you take any supplements or anything like that helps sort of get you through?
Yeah, I do have some iron pills. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I do that. And then I have some, what is it, from Be Pure, the fish oils. I don't have too many supplements. I have a few, and then the magnesium. I'm going big on, not big, but I do eat quite a bit of magnesium. A bit, not big. So I don't have that many supplements, but they're sort of my go-to, and a bit of zinc in there. So yeah. And blackcurrant. That's probably we have a lot of vitamin C, and blackcurrant we bust through
nice
here.
one. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And protein powder, man.
Simone,
shakes.
That's super. Like just a really convenient way to get your protein in, basically.
Yeah.
Simone, what about then my last question, because I'm mindful of the time and you'll be starting work soon.
Oh, yeah, good point.
What about sleep?
Sleep.
What about sleep for you? Like, are you a good sleeper?
Usually, I think I am. It's... Yeah, I mean, when I was training for the coast, man, I was just like out. And sleep is just so important. And even I realized that over the last 20 years, how important sleep has become for me. I sleep a lot, which is not funny. I shouldn't laugh about it, but I average between 8 and 10 hours, definitely. Like 10.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, then my partner has turned me into a sleepy monster. No, I'm not blaming him. I used to be a morning person. I still like getting up early in the morning, but because I have such odd shifts, or even from the pool, I would work till like 9 o'clock, and it's really hard when you come home at 9:30, or just to wind down. So I would have these late nights and then early get ups, and you can do this for so long, but I always felt with training and just what I do, it's there's a bit of trade-off. So if I sleep my 8 to 10 hours, I just feel so much better the day, when I wake up, and even the sessions I do. And I haven't got any of these funny watches on to monitor my sleep. So I couldn't tell. I just feel like I'm more recovered. So that's what I go based on. That must have been a good sleep. Or, like I dream. Yeah. I don't know if that makes it's good or bad, but if that's quantifying or justifying how good or bad your sleep is. But in terms of how I feel I had a good sleep, if that makes sense. And then I have days, of course, where I wake up, where I feel like, oh God, I feel like, or I wake up a lot, but But sleep is massive, especially when I lead into a race. I'm making sure, especially with the coast, like I prioritize the sleep leading into the race week a lot.
That's really that's totally important. And I know what you mean. Actually, like you always know yourself. You don't need a watch to tell you how you slept. Of course you know. Like if you have a restless light sleep and you wake up a lot during the night and you get up and you're like, oh, I just feel rubbish. I mean, versus like last night when you sleep right through and you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah, last night the sleep wasn't probably that great because every time I turned, I could feel my body, so I was very sore. I'm like, oh no. But the good thing also is, how do I think I had this kind of, not rule, but sometimes I have moments or months where I usually get up once to go to the toilet, and then I think, oh, that's not a good sleep. But when I sleep through the night, I wake up and I'm so much more ready than when I had to get up, go to the toilet and come back. And it's like, oh, even with my turning and tossing and feeling sore, I felt so much more awake than the night before. If that makes sense.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
totally does, Simone. Now, just to finish off, what is next for you? Like, obviously, you've got the little worm in your head about Coast to Coast 2025, and of course, resolving some of the niggles, particularly with your hip. Like, do you have any races on your agenda right now for 2024?
Nah, not really. Nah, there's nothing. I mean, they're all sort of long-term potentially, and even I thought, oh, I could do a running race in like 8 weeks. And I was like, hang on a minute, you need to sort out your bloody foot first before you. It's funny how we attract something that's not ideal, like I need to sort out my foot and my ass.
Yeah, totally.
And here I'm thinking about a running race. Just that's the head thing. It's like, oh, I just had this amazing flow state of running. I don't want to lose it. But it's like, hang on, you can get back there. You just no, not that particular. My main goal is probably more to work again on my coaching. I want to do a bit more coaching to help others achieve their goals. And this clinic I have with my friend, which is called, you mentioned in your questions.
The level up.
The level up. That I'd like to establish that a bit more, and that only you need time for all these things. And then I guess because I'm still working, I'm employed here at the office at the campground, and I think we might have a busy winter season ahead of us. So that's a lot. It all takes time. So I guess I just like to stay fit and healthy. So I train for life and hopefully sort out my niggles. But the big picture is, probably like to coach a few more people.
So Simone, thank you for your details with the coaching. There aren't many coast to coast coaches, I think, who are women. Am I right? Or multi-sport women coaches? Like, is that an area which you see that is lacking for women who are going into the sport? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's something when I did some research about coach, when I tried to find a coach for myself, I noticed that, or when I thought about me coaching, I was like, man, there are actually not many women coaches out there. Well, there are, but if you look at the scale of things, it's usually men they're dominating, not respectfully, not dominating the sport, but they're out and they kind of coach, the elite. It's usually all male, not male driven, but it's mainly male. Don't ask me why. I don't know if we don't have enough women applying for certain applications or for coaching or for even support to become a better qualified coach. I don't know. That's something I need to do more research. But therefore I thought, man, that's something I'd love to do. I'm really passionate about it. And I've done it. I know what it's about, especially in multisport. I know people say, you don't have to be a multisporter to coach multisport, or, like triathlete. You don't have to be a triathlete to become a triathlon coach. But they're all quite, to a sense, how do you say, specific. And there are certain very specific with the coast that it's not your normal run. It's a very different run to any run you have done in your life. The kayaking, it's not a normal thing, just like swimming. You just can turn your hands over. Like, there's so much more specific skills you need. And anyway, that was sort of my thing where I'm like, man, there's a kind of a niche. I feel like, we need to encourage more women to get out there and follow their passion. I'm pretty sure there's more than me just out there, but I thought, man, that's something I'd love to do and establish myself a bit more. And obviously, I've got such a broad skill set now from, I used to be an age group, or I used to be your average state, So I know what it's like being just your normal average person, and you just work your way gradually up if that's what you want. You don't have to, but we can, the person who is approaching me, we have a chat and we sort it out where you want to go. If you want to take a next level, I can take you to the next level. You know what I mean?
Completely. And I think you're such a good point. Like, because you said earlier about how Craig was right for you, CK was right for you, but and you come into the sport with like 20 years experience, so you already know there's a lot that that you needed the specifics of what CK could provide. Whereas you're right, like, to grow the sport from the female perspective, it would just be so amazing to have more female coaches like you helping these women get through.
Probably one important note there is, of course, I have a male coach now, but for me, it was always important in the past, like, what I can probably, how do you say, what important is for, it's not important for me, but what I can deliver, I have a good understanding of women and their hormones, and we have a period. And so there's so much more that goes into this whole package than just writing someone a program. Like, you actually can work with your cycle if you like to. It can be for some people beneficial, for some it doesn't, and even that's something I had to learn for myself. And I think that's why I'm happy now to have a male, because I think I'm very well in control of my menstrual cycle, and I can work with it quite well.
Yeah.
And I don't need a guidance in that way, if that makes sense. But it can be quite a roller coaster for, especially us women, when you have a guy and it's like, but today I feel so lethargic, or you just had your parent, how down you feel, and just sometimes emotional, and it's like, it's just overwhelming. And then you feel like you could jump out of your skin,
Yes.
and it's, it's fascinating.
I can so see the value there. With respect to that, I said my final question, it's not true actually, I've just got two very quick ones. How do people contact you regarding coaching for their next event? Because I imagine with your success and your attitude and just your experience, Simone, like, people are going to want to reach you. So what do you have, your coaching website, or is it, like, how's that work?
Yeah, if you Google my name, I think it's called simonemaier.co.nz.
Oh,
There should
great.
be a website, and then just my email, my coaching email is my name, I guess, Simone Maier coaching at gmail.com. Maybe I write this to
Cool.
you.
That's great. Yeah. No, and I'll absolutely include it in the show notes. And then, of course, with your business, like, are you taking on groups of people or businesses and stuff now? Like, how can they find out? How can sort of interested people find out more about your Level Up business?
Yeah, we also have a website which is called a Level Up. If they Google a Level Up,
so great.
I can give you a link to it. To like you, it shoots you on a website. And in the past, we had dates there. We've announced clinics. But me and my partner, my business, my friend Emily, actually, we've been so busy with our own little things. We haven't really sit down to release any dates, but we, in a week's time, for an example, we have a private coaching clinic. So we had a group of girls emailing us and said, "Oh, you guys do still doing your clinics?" And we're like, "Yeah, we just a bit slack," but we still offer those clinics, and that's probably the easiest way right now to, if you're keen to to
hook something up.
Yeah, to not level up, but I like the name Level Up. Your outdoor skills, really basically. That's the way we be happy to do so. And I think we're keen to do more of the set out some dates so people
more of that.
Yeah, especially if they sign up for the events like the spring or summer challenge or Spirit Moment events. That's an amazing easy way to, not easy, but it's such a cool, how do you say? It's actually a really cool setup we got, like a platform we offer. Like we have an amazing playground here, and we use obviously this to our advantage. We've got a really cool course where we, I guess, teach them the basics of the navigation, which is actually quite a big important tool or skill to have, how to read a map. So it's really all old school, but and then it reconnects them with nature. It teaches them so many skills about themselves, teamwork, what to pack, how to prepare themselves, even if they're not doing an event, but just even how to prepare themselves to go into the great outdoors and enjoy our beautiful country. There's so many things if you know, I guess the thing is, people, when they don't know what they don't know, they think they know everything, which sounds a bit bizarre, but so true. The same with everything in life, I guess, with food or, like dietitian or goals or training. It's like, it's an easy way, and you just invest once in a while, and you get this complete package, and you go home and you can practice, and it's such an enrichment for all of us. And even your self-esteem probably gets boosted because you're like, man, I can do this by myself. I can fix my bike to a degree without annoying my partner the whole time. Hey, can you change the tube, or can you do this or that? And it's just such a broad skill set we offer. And I guess, that's what we want to pass on.
Totally. And I think and to your point, like, it is, yes, it's great if you have an event, but actually learning these skills and actually proving to yourself that you can learn new things and you can do hard things. It's like we were talking about at the offset, like the discomfort, like it's such a good, safe way for people to experience the discomfort in a setting like your clinics, because they've got the skills of the people around them to be able to help as well. But then that transfers, like, it is about sport, it is about nature, but it transfers to every other area in life.
Oh yeah,
that confidence.
Even I guess you see this more and more, that big corporates, they take their whole team into the outdoors and do these I don't know, what do you call them, like these mentoring sessions or
team building stuff.
Yes, team building sessions, because it's so much relatable to the corporate world, or businesses or your daily life, jobs. Like, I think I transfer a lot from my own with racing training, what I do, into my daily life. And the other way around.
Like, same.
And the outdoors is such a good teacher.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Simone, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it, because despite the fact that you're not necessarily training for an event, I do know that you have a busy day. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. And so we will pop links in the show notes to your email and website for coaching and the website for a level up, which is awesome. And
Thank you.
And congratulations again with everything that you've achieved. Like, it is amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what is next on the racing calendar for you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
See you later, Simone.
See you later. Bye.
Alrighty, hopefully you really enjoyed that, and I think we could have probably talked for hours given our shared love of endurance, but I must say that Simone is probably on her own, if I'm just thinking of myself, with her real sense of adventure with GODZone and Multisport and the rest of it. And I'm super stoked that she has further plans beyond just these 5 wins for the coast to coast, and I'm really keen to see how 2024 and the beginning of 2025 rolls out for Simone. And as I said, I've got links to how you can connect with her via coaching or her courses, or just to send her a message to say how much you enjoyed the chat in the show notes. Next week on the podcast, I talk to Dr. Azir Christian about pain and migraine pain specifically. He is an integrative physician specialising in physiatry, which I hadn't heard of before I heard of Dr. Azir Christian. I think you're going to love that conversation. And also, don't forget, although it is Wednesday, there is still time to sign up and get the recordings for my Anatomy of Fat Loss series that I would have just finished by the time that you are, or just about to finish by the time that you listen to this episode. We will put links to that in the show notes as well. Until next week, though, you can catch me over on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter at Mikki Williden, Facebook at Mikki Williden Nutrition, or head to my website, mikkywilliden.com, book a one-on-one call with me. All right, team, have the best week. See you later.